Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we are diving into something pretty different. We're cracking open the so-called Believer's Handbook.
Oh, yeah, this one.
Yeah. It's a fascinating document in its own right, but we're specifically zeroing in on sections dealing with technology.
Okay.
Because, get this, it lays out these inventions from someone they call the founder.
Right.
And it doesn't just describe them like, here's a cool gadget. It presents them as like the foundation for, I'm quoting here, a new way of seeing and breathing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, bold stuff. So we're going to tackle two of these inventions today. First, the directivity white balance magic filter and full color spectrum.
Catchy name.
Right? And then there's the labyrinth air purifier.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting for me is this isn't a neutral scientific paper.
Right.
The Believer's Handbook has this whole philosophical angle, almost like a revelation or something.
Interesting. So what's our mission here today? Decode the tech or decode the belief system around it?
Both, ideally. We'll break down the technical stuff as much as we can from the descriptions, but also try to grasp what the founder was really aiming for by presenting these inventions in such a grand way.
I'm in.
Awesome. Let's start with what the handbook dramatically calls the first light of the founder, the directivity white balance magic filter and full color spectrum.
First light.
Right. This thing's apparently got patents all over US, Europe, Japan, China, you name it, starting with US patent number 9,359,964.
Global domination, huh?
At least in the patent world. So, before we get into the how, for you as a photographer, what's the core problem this invention is tackling?
Okay, so the handbook lays out this whole idea that conventional photography is kind of fundamentally flawed.
Flawed?
Yeah, it's all about light, ambient light, and how camera lenses distort color.
Okay, walk me through that.
Imagine you're trying to capture, a really vibrant scene, right? Lots of color.
Sure.
Your camera sensor gets hit with light from all directions. And the usual white balance, it's basically trying to average all that out.
Right.
The founder's argument is this averaging, it creates inaccuracies. It dilutes the true colors that are actually there.
Oh, so like when you're indoors and the lights are kind of yellow, your pictures end up looking too warm, even if you know the objects themselves aren't that color.
Exactly. That's what this invention supposedly fixes. It's claiming to give you, the viewer, truthful color.
Truthful color. Okay, so how does this magic filter, how does it actually do that?
All right, this is where it gets interesting, the design. This filter, it's not flat like you'd expect. It's cylindrical.
Cylindrical?
Yeah, shaped like a tube.
Yeah.
And they call it an optical aiming scope.
So instead of light coming in from everywhere, you're actually like selecting what light gets through.
Exactly. It's active. You're narrowing the angle of light that hits your lens.
Okay, I'm kind of seeing it. But how does that lead to more accurate color?
Because now you're isolating the light reflecting off a very specific point. So you get a much more precise measurement of that color instead of a muddy average.
Ah, so it's like going from a blurry overview to a super sharp focus on the detail.
Yeah, good analogy. And then as the photographer, you actually get to decide what true white is for that scene.
Oh, right. It says something about pointing the camera at a richly colored area to set the white balance manually.
Yeah, so you're not just relying on the camera's automatic settings.
So it's not point and shoot. You're really involved in defining what's true.
Interesting. But what if you're in a scene where there isn't much color variation?
They've thought of that. There's this patented full color spectrum chart.
Right.
So if your scene's kind of all, you use this chart as your reference under that specific lighting. You're basically introducing all the colors that might be missing.
That's wild. Like you're bringing your own standard of color truth into a colorless world.
In a way, yeah. And get this, the process also corrects for the lens's own color shift.
Hold on. The lens itself can distort color. It can.
Yeah.
But when you capture light through this filter setup, the sensor gets the ambient light, the lens tint, and the reflected color of your target all at once.
Okay.
By setting the white balance based on that combo, the camera basically cancels out the lens's bias. It's doing what they call auto lens color calibration in real time.
So less work for you in post-processing, I guess.
You got it.
Yeah.
The goal is you get perfect white balance, true color, no distortion, images that are supposedly as close as possible to how you actually see the scene.
That's a huge claim.
It is. And they go on about how these truthful images, when viewed on like a calibrated QLED or OLED screen, it's a whole different level of realism.
Really?
They call it segmented color depth. It's like you see finer gradations, more differences between similar colors, edges are sharp, shadows are defined. It's supposed to blow 3D video out of the water.
That's kind of hard to imagine.
Right. And it's not just about pretty pictures either. This whole color thing, it's tied to the founder's philosophy.
Yeah, they make a big deal about rejecting artificial aesthetics, pursuing truth in how we represent the visual world.
It's like their standard of faith, to quote the book.
Yeah.
More than just tech, it's a belief.
And there's that quote, "If I don't explain this clearly, people will think I'm a con artist, but I'm not. I just spent 20 years perfecting something the world doesn't understand yet."
I remember that line. Strong words.
Right, so it's this revolutionary idea, but it's also like he's anticipating pushback, misunderstanding.
Makes sense. And then the text goes even further. They're saying this commitment to color truth, it proves the founder is qualified to lead in totally different areas like anti-aging, human evolution, stuff like that.
Whoa, hold on. How does color accuracy equal being an expert in like extending lifespan?
It's like they're saying mastering visual truth is step one to understanding deeper truths about reality.
So the magic filter, it's not just a photography tool. It's the first light, literally, of some much bigger vision.
Yeah, to awaken us to a truer way of seeing.
And from there, we move on to how we breathe.
Right, because the next invention is all about the air itself, the labyrinth air filter.
Right. This is a 10-year journey to the perfect air filter, they call it.
A decade of work, wow.
Yeah, and it all culminated in U.S. patent R, US 826-8058B2, which led to the Air 6-free purifier, whatever that exactly means.
6-free. I wonder what that refers to.
We can speculate later, but first, why this obsession with air? What was the founder so worried about?
The handbook paints this picture of a silent war against the invisible threats in the air.
Invisible threat.
Toxins, basically. They make it sound pretty dramatic. Like, this was a personal crusade to make truly purified air for everyone.
There's also that quote about the design. "It took me 10 years to perfect this. Every bend, every layer, every chamber has a reason. Nothing is random. It is a maze built not to trap people, but to trap death in the form of toxins."
A maze to trap death. That's intense imagery.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does this labyrinth actually trap those invisible threats?
Okay, so it's a multi-stage process.
Yeah.
First, you've got a fan on top, blowing out the already purified air.
Okay.
That creates suction, drawing in dirty air from below. Then it goes through an initial filter, like most purifiers, catching the big stuff.
Like dust, pollen, pet hair.
Exactly. But then things get really interesting.
Ooh.
This pre-filtered air enters the labyrinth. It's a sealed chamber, four-sided, with a small inlet.
I'm picturing it.
And right before the air goes in, there's a negative ion generator. It's pumping out 20 million negative ions every second.
That many. What do those ions actually do to the air?
They attach to those tiny ultrafine particles we can't even see.
So they become negatively charged.
Bingo. And that sets up the next step. Electrostatic capture, basically making the pollutants sticky so they can be trapped.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Right. So now these charged particles are flowing through the labyrinth, which has positively charged metal walls inside.
Opposites attract, and boom, the pollutants get stuck.
You got it. They literally adhere to the walls. And because of the design, the air keeps twisting and turning.
So even the tiniest particles, with their momentum, end up hitting those walls and getting caught.
Exactly. It's all about maximizing those chances of impact.
Clever. And the result is, supposedly, 100% pure air coming out for you to breathe.
That's the claim.
Yeah.
No harmful particles get through. And they emphasize that those pollutants are physically stuck inside the filter, not just neutralized or something.
Which means you got to replace the filter, right?
Yep. Regular replacement is key. But they present that as a good thing because you're actually removing the toxins from your environment.
Makes sense. No magic disappearing act. You got to deal with the gunk.
Right. And another thing, the labyrinth is scalable. They talk about using it in tiny portable units, but also huge outdoor installations.
So purifying not just your personal space, but potentially like whole neighborhoods.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just about practicality. The founder specifically says this wasn't designed for the already healthy.
Oh, who was it for then?
People who are already struggling. People with health issues. Pregnant mothers. The elderly. It's presented as a key to achieving toxin-free longevity, whatever that might fully entail.
Again, tying into that idea of extending lifespan, like we saw with the color invention.
Yeah. It's like both inventions at their core are about this pursuit of truth.
Truth in what we see, truth in what we breathe.
And from those two truths, they believe a whole new way of life can emerge.
So to sum up, the directivity white balance magic filter and full color spectrum, it's about getting the colors right down to the smallest detail.
And the labyrinth, that's about purifying the very air we depend on.
And both are presented as just the beginning.
The starting point of a new civilization, as the handbook puts it.
A civilization built on, well, accuracy and well-being. Makes you think, right?
It really does. If you can apply this level of detail to something as basic as color and air, what else could be revolutionized?
What other invisible revolutions, as they say, might be out there waiting to be discovered? Food, maybe? Or sound? Or even time itself?
Now, those are some deep dives for future episodes.
You got that right. Thanks for joining me on this one, everyone.
It's been fascinating.
Until next time.